All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I'm Abhishek Mukhopadhyay and with me is Sunil Verma. The headlines. Bill to repeal 3 farm laws listed for introduction and passing in Lok Sabha on the first day of the winter session of Parliament. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says family-based parties are biggest threat to democracy, warns against colonial mindset that stalled India's development journey. Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramana stresses need for judiciary and government to complement each other. Russian President Vladimir Putin to visit India on December 6th to attend India-Russia summit with Prime Minister Modi. India to resume scheduled international flights from 15th of next month. Discovery of new COVID variant triggers global alarm. Nations rush to impose travel restrictions on affected countries. WHO designates new strain as variant of concern, names it Omicron. Government asks people not to subscribe to Elon Musk-backed Starlink internet services as the company has no license to operate in India. And upcoming FIH Junior Women's Hockey World Cup in South Africa put on hold following outbreak of new corona variant. As India created history by administering over 100 crore vaccine doses against COVID-19, All India Radio salutes all the doctors, nurses, other frontline workers and all those who got vaccinated and made this possible. Even though the country has achieved this feat, we caution our listeners that the battle against COVID is not yet over. We appeal to our listeners to get fully vaccinated at the earliest and also help others get vaccinated. Please follow these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011 2397 8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. Farm Laws Repeal Bill 2021 has been listed for introduction and passing in the Lok Sabha on the first day of the winter session of Parliament, scheduled to begin from the 29th of this month. Recently, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had announced that the government has decided to repeal all 3 farm laws. The bill will repeal the Farmers Empowerment and Protection, Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Act 2020, the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act 2020, the Essential Commodities Amendment Act 2020 and to amend the Essential Commodities Act 1955. BJP has already issued a whip for its members in Rajya Sabha to remain present in the House to support the government.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that family-based parties are the biggest threat to democracy. Addressing a Constitution Day function at the Central Hall of Parliament, Mr. Modi said parties run by families are against the spirit of Constitution and called for a national awakening in this regard.
जब राजनीतिक दल अपने आप में अपना लोकतांत्रिक कैरेक्टर खो देते हैं, जो दल स्वयं लोकतांत्रिक कैरेक्टर खो चुके हो, वो लोकतंत्र की रक्षा कैसे कर सकते हैं? आज देश में कश्मीर से कन्याकुमारी, हिंदुस्तान के हर कोने में जाइए, भारत एक ऐसे संकट की तरफ बढ़ रहा है जो संविधान को समर्पित लोगों के लिए चिंता का विषय है, लोकतंत्र के प्रति आस्था रखने वालों के लिए चिंता का विषय है, और वो है पारिवारिक पार्टियां.
At another event in Vigyan Bhavan, the Prime Minister said some forces are trying to put obstacles in the path of growth of developing nations, even in the name of freedom of expression. Mr. Modi said the colonial mindset still exists and it is responsible for stalling India's development journey. The Prime Minister said the country needs to get rid of this mentality and the Constitution could be its biggest strength in achieving that. Mr. Modi said India is the only country which is in the process of achieving the goals of the Paris Climate Agreement ahead of time. Yet, in the name of environment, various pressures are being created on India, said the Prime Minister. Mr. Modi said both the government and the judiciary are born out of the Constitution and hence they are twins. These two have come into existence only because of the Constitution. Hence, from a broader perspective, even though they are different, they complement each other, he said. The Prime Minister said, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, Sabka Prayas is the most powerful manifestation of the spirit of the Constitution. The government is dedicated to the Constitution and does not discriminate in development, he said.
सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास, सबका प्रयास, ये संविधान की भावना का सबसे सशक्त प्रकटीकरण है। संविधान के लिए समर्पित सरकार विकास में भेद नहीं करती और ये हमने करके दिखाया है। आज गरीब से गरीब को भी क्वालिटी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर तक वही एक्सेस मिल रहा है जो कभी साधन संपन्न लोगों तक सीमित था।
Speaking on the occasion, Chief Justice of India, N.V. Ramanna, also stressed on the need for the judiciary and the government to complement each other in the realization of constitutional goals. Justice Ramanna said that all three organs of the state, executive, legislature and judiciary, are repositories of constitutional trust, and it is wrong to assume that securing justice is the job of judiciary alone. The Chief Justice said the executive and the legislature must work in conjunction with the judiciary to ensure complete justice as envisaged under the Constitution. Russian President Vladimir Putin will arrive in New Delhi on the 6th of December for the 21st India-Russia Annual Summit with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Briefing media in New Delhi, MEA spokesman Arindam Bagchi said the leaders will review the state and prospects of bilateral relations and discuss ways to further strengthen the strategic partnership between the two countries.
The leaders will review the state and prospects of bilateral relations and discuss ways to further strengthen the strategic partnership between our two countries. The summit will afford an opportunity to exchange views on regional, multilateral and international issues of mutual interest. The visit is in continuation of the tradition of annual summits alternately in India and Russia, and we are confident that the visit will further provide an impetus to the India-Russia special and privileged strategic partnership.
Mr. Bagchi said the last India-Russia Annual Summit was held in September 2019 during the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Vladivostok in Russia. He said the annual summit could not take place in 2020 due to COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Bagchi informed that the first India-Russia 2+2 dialogue will be held in New Delhi on the 6th of next month. He said Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will represent the Indian side in the dialogue.
The agenda for the dialogue will cover political and defense issues of mutual interest. The establishment of this new mechanism of a 2+2 dialogue is expected to further strengthen the strategic partnership between our two countries.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will share his thoughts with the people of the country and abroad in the Mann Ki Baat program on All India Radio tomorrow. It will be the 83rd episode of the monthly radio program. It will be broadcast on the entire network of AIR and Doordarshan, AIR News website and News on AIR mobile app. It will also be streamed live on the YouTube channels of the AIR News, DD News, PMO and the Information and Broadcasting Ministry. AIR will broadcast the program in regional languages immediately after the Hindi broadcast. The regional language versions will also be repeated at 8 p.m. The centre has decided to resume scheduled commercial international passenger flights on the 15th of December. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the scheduled international commercial passenger services were suspended by India on the 23rd of March last year. The Director General of Civil Aviation said that the matter has been reviewed and the competent authority has decided to resume the scheduled commercial international passenger flights to and from India with effect from the 15th of next month. It said the services will remain suspended till 23:59 hours of the 14th of December. It further said that the resumption of scheduled international passenger services would imply a revision to bilaterally agreed capacity, entitlements and termination of air bubble arrangements. The countries from where travellers would need to follow additional measures on arrival in India, including post-arrival testing, includes UK, South Africa, Brazil, Bangladesh, Botswana, China, Mauritius, New Zealand, Zimbabwe, Singapore, Hong Kong and Israel. The decision has been taken in consultation with the Union Health Ministry in light of the COVID situation across the world. The decision has been taken at a time when a new variant of coronavirus has been found in countries like Botswana, Hong Kong and South Africa.
The Ministry of Communications has said that Elon Musk-backed Starlink Internet Services is not licensed to offer satellite-based Internet services in India as being advertised to the public. In a statement, the ministry said it has come to notice that Starlink has started pre-selling or booking of the satellite-based Starlink internet services in India, and the same is also evident from the website of Starlink, www.starlink.com, wherein satellite-based internet services can be booked by users in the Indian territory. It said, for rendering satellite-based services in India, requisite licenses from the Department of Telecommunications under the Ministry of Communications are required. The ministry informed the public at large that the company has not obtained any license or authorization for rendering satellite-based internet services that are being booked on their website. The government has asked the company to comply with the Indian regulatory framework for rendering the satellite-based communication services and refrain from booking or rendering the satellite internet services in India with immediate effect. The ministry said, given the fact that Starlink is not a licensee, the public is advised not to subscribe to Starlink services being advertised. India's COVID vaccination coverage has crossed 120 crore 96 lakh mark. More than 120 crore 96 lakh 90,000 doses have been administered so far. The Health Ministry said more than 65 lakh 23,000 vaccine doses were administered yesterday.
World Health Organization has named the new COVID-19 variant B.1.1.529, which was detected in South Africa, as Omicron, saying it may spread more quickly than other forms. After a close meeting of independent experts who reviewed the data, the WHO said preliminary evidence suggests there is an increased risk of reinfection and there had been a detrimental change in COVID-19 epidemiology. It said infections in South Africa had risen steeply in recent weeks, coinciding with detection of the variant now designated as Omicron. This variant has a large number of mutations, some of which are concerning. Preliminary evidence suggests an increased risk of reinfection with this variant as compared to other variants of concern, the WHO added. The WHO said this variant has been detected at faster rates than previous surges in infection, suggesting that this variant may have a growth advantage. Current PCR tests continue to successfully detect the variant, it said. The discovery of a new coronavirus variant has triggered global alarm as countries rush to impose travel restrictions on southern Africa. The B.1.1.529 variant was first detected in South Africa, but cases have been confirmed in Botswana, Belgium, Israel and Hong Kong so far. In response, the US, Canada, UK, Israel, Japan, Kenya and Singapore joined the European Union and several other countries in instituting travel restrictions on visitors from southern Africa. The US has announced to restrict travel from South Africa and 7 other countries in the region beginning Monday. The 27-nation European Union imposed a temporary ban on air travel from the southern Africa. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said flights will have to be suspended until there is a clear understanding about the danger posed by this new variant, and travellers returning from this region should respect strict quarantine rules.
World Trade Organization (WTO) has become the first major diplomatic casualty of the new coronavirus variant Omicron, as it has postponed its first ministerial meeting in 4 years due to the deteriorating health situation. The WTO said that its members have agreed to postpone the ministerial conference after the new variant outbreak led to travel restrictions that would have prevented many ministers from reaching Geneva. No new date has been set for a rescheduled meeting. In our bilingual live phone-in program, Corona Jagruta series, Dr. Rupali Malik of Safdarjung Hospital, New Delhi, will be with us tonight to answer queries related to coronavirus. Listeners can ask questions to the expert from 9:30 p.m. on toll-free number 1-800-115767 and on telephone number 011-2331-4444. You can also post your queries on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts by hashtag AskAIR. This live program can be heard on FM Gold channel and additional frequencies from 9:30 p.m. onwards. This program will also be available on our website newsonair.nic.in and YouTube channel News on AIR Official. You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Bill to repeal 3 farm laws listed for introduction and passing in Lok Sabha on the first day of winter session of Parliament. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says family-based parties are biggest threat to democracy, warns against colonial mindset that stall India's development journey. Chief Justice of India, N.V. Ramanna, stresses need for judiciary and government to complement each other. Russian President Vladimir Putin to visit India on December the 6th to attend India-Russia summit with Prime Minister Modi. India to resume scheduled international flights from 15th of next month. Discovery of new COVID variant triggers global alarm. Nations rush to impose travel restrictions on affected countries. WHO designates new strain as variant of concern, names it Omicron. Government asks people not to subscribe to Elon Musk-backed Starlink internet services as the company has no license to operate in India. Upcoming FIH Junior Women's Hockey World Cup in South Africa put on hold following outbreak of new corona variant. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
Chief Minister of Assam, Himanta Biswa Sarma, and Mizoram Chief Minister Zoramthanga met Union Home Minister Amit Shah in New Delhi yesterday. Both Chief Ministers reaffirmed their resolve to maintain peace and tranquility at the borders. Mr. Sarma said it has been decided that both the states will constitute committees for resolving the border disputes through discussions. He said towards this end, Chief Ministers level talks will also take place from time to time. Chief Election Commissioner Sushil Chandra said that India has witnessed a 235.72% increase in female voters since the 1971 elections. He said after 7 decades and 17 general elections since independence, women's participation in India has exceeded that of men and stood at more than 67% in the 2019 general election. Mr. Chandra made these remarks yesterday during an international webinar on the theme Enhancing Electoral Participation of Women, Persons with Disabilities and Senior Citizen Voters, Sharing Best Practices. In Karnataka, there are 91 candidates remaining in the fray for the election to the 25 seats of the State Legislative Council to be held on the 10th of next month. Yesterday was the last day for the withdrawal of the nomination. According to the State Chief Electoral Office, 20 candidates withdrew the nominations till date. The BJP and the Congress have fielded 20 candidates each, and JDS has fielded 6 candidates.
In Telangana, 6 candidates of Telangana Rashtra Samiti TRS have been unanimously elected to the Legislative Council from local authorities' constituencies. State Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao's daughter, K. Kavita, is among the unanimously elected candidates. Elections for the remaining 6 seats of the council will be held on the 10th of next month. Local bodies' representatives are eligible to cast their votes in these constituencies. Counting of votes will be taken up on the 14th of December. The Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution Ministry has said that tomato prices will fall from the beginning of next month as fresh arrivals from northern states will increase the availability of tomatoes in the market. The ministry said All India average retail price of tomato has been on the rise from September of this year due to unseasonal rains in Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Haryana and Himachal Pradesh. Unseasonal rain led to crop damage and disrupted supplies from these states. Heavy rains in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and Karnataka have also disrupted the supply. As per the Department of Agriculture, the estimated Kharif production in the current year is at 69.52 lakh metric tons.
And now let's listen to a special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of this struggle every day.
In today's episode, we remember freedom fighter and first Speaker of Lok Sabha, Ganesh Mavalankar, who was born on 27th of November 1888. As Speaker of the first Lok Sabha of a newborn nation, Mavalankar's role was not merely that of a moderator and facilitator of its proceedings, but of a statesman and a founding father invested with the responsibility to establish rules, procedures, conventions and customs that suited the ethos of India.
Born in Baroda, Gujarat, Mavalankar was a lawyer by profession and also took keen interest in social work, which brought him in contact with eminent national leaders like Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and Mahatma Gandhi. He played an active role in the freedom movement in Gujarat and was imprisoned several times and spent nearly 6 years in jail.
Mavalankar dedicated himself to the affairs of Ahmedabad municipality for nearly 2 decades and was elected to the then Bombay Legislative Assembly representing the city of Ahmedabad in 1937. He was elected to preside over the Central Legislative Assembly in 1946.
Mavalankar was elected to the office of Speaker of the Constituent Assembly Legislative on the 17th of November 1947. And with the adoption of the Constitution of Free India on the 26th of November 1949, Mavalankar became the Speaker of the Provisional Parliament and continued to occupy the office of the Speaker till the first Lok Sabha was constituted in 1952.
During this time, Mavalankar ensured that all the rules, practices, procedures and conventions necessary for the smooth functioning of a representative parliament in the country were put in place before the elections to the first Lok Sabha were completed in the country in 1951-52. No one was therefore surprised when Mavalankar was chosen as the Speaker of the first Lok Sabha of independent India on 15th of May 1952.
During his tenure as the Speaker of Lok Sabha, Mavalankar introduced several new rules and procedures and also modified the existing ones to suit the new conditions. On his initiative, the question hour became a regular and meaningful feature of parliamentary sessions. Devices like short notice questions and half-an-hour discussions were introduced to make the government truly accountable to the Parliament.
The discussion on President's address on a motion of thanks was started by him to ensure independence and supremacy of Parliament in the system of government. Mavalankar envisioned an independent Secretariat of Parliament directly under the control of the presiding officer.
Mavalankar's speakership was cut short abruptly by his untimely death on the 27th of February 1956 in Ahmedabad. Through 5 decades of selfless service, Ganesh Vasudev Mavalankar has left a deep imprint of his personality on the office of the Speaker and on the Parliament of India. We salute this great Indian.
Today, we also remember renowned Hindi poet Harivansh Rai Bachchan, who was born on 27th of November 1907.
Alag alag pathu batulate sab par main ye batulata hu raah pakad tu ek chala chal pa janega madhushala.
Father of legendary actor Amitabh Bachchan, Harivansh Rai grew up during a time when India was striving for its freedom against British imperialism and was influenced by the Gandhian philosophy of non-violence. Let us remember him through his poem Azadi Ke Geet, dedicated to India's independence on 15th of August 1947.
हम ऐसे आजाद हमारा झंडा है बादल, चांदी सोने हीरे मोती से सस्ती गुड़ियां, इनसे आतंकित करने की बीत गई घड़ियां, इनसे सज-धज बैठा करते जो हैं कठपुतले, हमने तोड़ अभी फेंकी हैं बेड़ी हथकड़ियां, परंपरागत पुरखों की हमने जागृत की फिर से, उठा शीश पर रखा हमने हिम किरीट उज्जवल, हम ऐसे आजाद हमारा झंडा है बादल.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates around the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts. Best wishes to all consumers for Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Hallmark ensures purity of gold. Always purchase hallmarked gold jewellery. For any consumer-related complaints, please contact National Consumer Helplines toll-free number 14404. Issued in public interest by Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India. Jago Grahak Jago.
The upcoming International Hockey Federation FIH Junior Women's Hockey World Cup in South Africa has been put on hold following the outbreak of a new coronavirus variant in the African nation. The hockey tournament was to be held from the 5th to the 16th of next month. The FIH, the South African Hockey Association, and the Northwest University of Potchefstroom jointly took this decision yesterday. India will meet Poland in their last pool fixture in the FIH Junior Men's Hockey World Cup 2021 at the Kalinga Stadium in Bhubaneswar this evening. The Indian junior team registered a tremendous victory in their second Pool B match of the World Cup by defeating Canada 13-1 in a one-sided fashion on Thursday, and then India had to face 4-5 defeat against France in their first match.
Now let's take a look at the weather forecast for today. The national capital Delhi will have shallow fog. Mumbai will have mainly clear sky. Chennai is expected to witness generally cloudy sky with heavy rain, and Kolkata will have mainly clear sky.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. The 13th anniversary of the 26/11 attacks find mention in most of the dailies this morning. Hindustan Times quoting Prime Minister Modi says, "Can't forget wounds of 26/11 attack." The paper quotes Amit Shah as saying, "Forever indebted to our saviors." Modi attacks dynastic politics, leads the Pioneer. The paper writes, PM calls it a threat to democracy, slams opposition for boycotting Constitution Day event at Parliament. Omicron new variant of concern, leads the Hindu, adding WHO says it may spread quickly than other forms. And Nadda rules out change in Himachal leadership, reports the Tribune. India-Russia-China call for inclusive Afghan government, says the Statesman.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Bill to repeal 3 farm laws listed for introduction and passing in Lok Sabha on the first day of the winter session of Parliament. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says family-based parties are biggest threat to democracy, warns against colonial mindset that stall India's development journey. Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramana stresses need for judiciary and government to complement each other. Russian President Vladimir Putin to visit India on December 6th to attend India-Russia summit with Prime Minister Modi. India to resume scheduled international flights from 15th of next month. Discovery of new COVID variant triggers global alarm. Nations rush to impose travel restrictions on affected countries. WHO designates new strain as variant of concern, names it Omicron. Government asks people not to subscribe to Elon Musk-backed Starlink internet services as the company has no license to operate in India. And upcoming FIH Junior Women's Hockey World Cup in South Africa put on hold following outbreak of new corona variant. And with that we end the morning news. Have a nice day.